traders, time to look at the markets. Beautiful weekend out there, so I want to get out and make the most of what's left of it. On Friday, this is the S&P 500 futures, which is very similar to the Dow futures. So off the back of this hammer, we moved into this resistance area and then got very hesitant on Friday. So it's US holiday tomorrow, Monday, so not trading on Monday. Looking to see on Tuesday if we can close above this. If we can't close above this, then we look as if we could roll over. Okay, you've seen me draw this channel that we've got. We literally moved into the bottom of that channel on Friday, so obviously a lot of resistance. Now the question is, can that resistance be overcome in the early part of the week, or can this move off? If you took the long swing trade, I would just simply ramp up your stop. You could, if you want, go, well, 2 bars back is just under there at 11.28 on the S&P, and obviously similar level on the same method on the Dow. What do I think is going to happen? Well, if we look at the weekly chart for a little bit more detail, you can see the weekly chart is actually still bullish. We have not got above this resistance, but this is a hammer-like bar. It's a stopping bar and a hammer-like bar, so we had 2 weeks of buying here. It's just a question of whether we can get in the daily a close above the resistance. So it's left wide open to see if that's possible on Tuesday. Let's do the same to the oil. That's the weekly chart on the oil, so stopping bar and a close above, but we're again right up into resistance. This is a major level of resistance in the oil. This 82.20 was a major line in the sand which we've actually closed above. So there are a lot of bullish signs here. These markets are not done, but they've still got a lot to prove. If we start to bump into this resistance up here, around about 85.86 is quite feasible on the oil, on the back of this move here, and we could even break out and get back to the top of this channel. You can see we're basically in a huge channel at the moment, from 82 to 103, and we are just coming back into this range on the back of that decent close on Friday. So let's see if this can hold and start to move back out. Just looking at some of these commodities here, this is the cotton in the weekly. You can see we had a close above the previous week's bar here, and we've got this trend line resistance up here. I think this cotton could come up here and start to head towards 120 again. We're at 102 at the moment. Again, let's look at the daily. Yeah, daily's not at all convincing, is it? That's a very, very sideways action. We're just clinging onto that support, so we need to, if we start to close below 102 and particularly 100, obviously we are toast. However, if we can break above that area of resistance, then we could get back up to 120 there. So the daily chart's got it. That's how you can get in on this chart if that weekly is looking to move the upside. And let's see where we're doing. Sugar has been a good performer on the daily chart, struggling. Gold. This is stuck between the 50 and the 200 EMA on the daily chart, so it's just a big box at the moment. And whichever way we move out of that box is going to determine the next trends. We've got a trend line across the highs and a trend line across the lows, so let's see if we can bust up here, but it's not looking hopeful at the moment. Very sideways, no trades there at all. The grains have been very similar. A couple of hammers down here. May just well retest the hammer at 592 and then start to move back out. But it's certainly struck resistance and so far not doing well. A little bit of a hammer-like bar there. So, and that could well indicate that it's going to at least retest the resistance. But let's see. Just looking at this Goldman Sachs stock, we're just under the 100 mark. If we can get back up above 98.20, I think this Goldman Sachs will be breaking this trend line and potentially get back up to 130 resistance. Now, I know Friday's close was weak, was bearish, but just watch it. I certainly wouldn't want to short this, but I would want to go long if the markets can hold up and if this particular stock can get back above. If we look at Microsoft as well, Microsoft's hit resistance, but again, if we get above 26.50, then this could potentially break into this area here and retest this major trend line. This major trend line comes right across the highs and he's swooping down on us. So these stocks are a good indication. This is Apple. Apple's got major support here. So far, we've been bought down here, but obviously not a very good weak close on Friday. If we can hold this 365, we could stand a chance to break up, but all down to the indices. Right, let's look at Forex. Pound. Not a bad close on Friday actually. Difficult to trade. That's not what I wanted. Major resistance up there. So let's pull back and look at the big picture on this. So we're in this range, in this 153.40 to 157.875 range. Had a hammer-like bar on. Had a couple of hammers down there. One was a very deep run back on Thursday and a close above on Friday. Overall, the weekly chart is looking very positive. I say very positive. It's a hammer-like bar, so it's not as positive as I'd like. So that could act as a hangman and drag the whole thing down. The fact is we closed inside the previous week's bar, so not very convincing. Difficult to call. I think we're going to move sideways a little bit more. If you look at the dollar index, we have seen some strength on that on the back of Friday. The weekly show, that's interesting. The weekly showing a rejection of the highs. So that's a reversal bar. It's potentially a shooting star up there against resistance. So that bodes well for the pound and the Aussie US. So, and that's sort of changed my perspective on this pound. If we can now crack above that level there, that hammer can drive that price back up through. We stand a decent chance of getting back to 159. So 400 point, 350, 400 point potential move back to the upside, but it's not clear. I mean, that's not a clear story. See if the Aussie US is any different. That's the weekly chart in the Aussie US, so that's more positive. So we did close above that bar there. If you're in it, if you did take the hammer, then just sit in it. If you did take this hammer, get a stop to break even and sit in it, because it's 4 days of buying there, but it's not clear. Euro. Now that reversal bar up there was at resistance, so this is a major line of resistance. major. Yeah, it's got a lot of touches up there, and that's closed right underneath. That's a reversal bar on a daily right underneath it. So same with indices. If we can close above 134.50, this stands a decent chance. But that looks like that's ready to drop to me. It's closed within Thursday's bar, so it's certainly not engulfed. So the way I would handle it, I would stand aside, wait and see if we close below 133.40 and then short it. But you know, that does look to me like we are ready for another leg down in the Euro US. If you're looking for forex swing trades, then just keep an eye on this one, the Aussie New Zealand, because if that breaks above 128, that could move quite nicely back up to the highs on the back of this resistance, but at the moment that is still in the sell zone. This Euro Pound to me is a distribution pattern, in other words selling off at the highs, close below this 86.17, but major support down here. I think if we don't hold 85.50, I think that could come down to 83 area there. That's the major support. We seem to be getting back into this area here for a move back down to 83.5. If you took the short on the US dollar CAD, then you may want to lock in some profits, or potentially even take it off, because that's a hammer like bar on major support. And we could be, if this is right, we could be about to see, if this is right, it's a strange thing to say, isn't it? If this moves up from that hammer, we could be about to see a big break up here. If the dollar gets that strong and the CAD gets that weak, this could be a sign the markets are not happy and the equity markets are not going to hold up. So the US dollar CAD could be telling us what's about to come around the corner. This pound CAD has had a lot of touches of 163.85 this year. I sold off recently from it, but I just wonder if this is getting ready to come up. Let's see, what can I do? If I do that, so at the lows, that was trend line support. So we've broken up, hit resistance, retested the trend line, hit resistance. We're just hovering around underneath that resistance after all of these touches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 touches of this area. And we've got a hammer-like bar down there with a close above the hammer. So I just wonder if this pound is getting ready. You know, the pound's holding up pretty well. Let's look at the weekly. Now, if we close above this area here, this is very significant, very significant. That could be a hangman bar, which if we start to drop from the hangman, then we're just going to drop and come back down to these lows. However, if we break above it and that gets used, the market see that as a hammer, that could break out and get back to at least 173.50. So we've been trapped in this big box, top of the box, bottom. Looks as if we're going to drop out. It held. So we've had 2 to 3 tests of the lower side of the hammer. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think my bias will be to see it for a breakout. But let's see. We'll be able to tell pretty soon if we can continue to make higher closes in that pound CAD. And this pound yen, I think is getting ready to come up as well. So we are right in the apex there. I think that pound yen is one of the best looking forex charts out there. Got a hammer, a bar on Friday that engulfed the previous 3 days action. If we break out of that, I think that pound yen is very, very strong. And you know what? I think it's highly likely. Think about it. The UK have just instigated a second round of quantitative easing. Pound versus the dollar is strong, while the euro versus the dollar is weak. So the relative strength of the pound is strong. But the point is, forget all that, push all that to one side. This pound yen is right at the apex. It's made a double bottom. It's had 2 hammers, and the close on Friday was decent and engulfed both of those hammer bodies. So I would suggest you take a break of 120 and see if we can get up to 123.30. You stop, however, if you go 2 bars back, it's going to have to be quite long. So another way of doing it is to wait and see if we close above the trend line, which will hopefully enable you to have a closer stop. So the US not trading on Monday, the market's going to be quiet, so you may, if you can just creep a little higher closing there, you can afford yourself a closer stop. So look at the pound Swissy. So, so the pound is showing real strength across the board. That's closed above. If we get a pullback to 143.30, that looks as if that's got the potential to move up to 148. So having seen all those pound pairs, I now think that break above 156 and this pound can get up to 159 pretty quick. Okay, so not a lot setting up. With Monday is the US holiday, so Monday Roundtable is going to be very interesting. So I hope you can all join me then, so we can do a little, see how the little volume there is on Monday to see what's happening, and have a good session together and prepare ourselves for the week ahead. Alright, enjoy the rest of your weekend and see you at the next update.